Garland Hunt is senior pastor of the Father's House in Atlanta. He's also an attorney who worked closely with legislators that crafted Georgia's religious freedom bill. He joins us now to talk about the next move in the state's religious freedom battle. Pastor Hunt, you've been meeting with religious leaders all day. What's their reaction to the governor's announcement?
Everyone I spoke to is outraged. We really are, because we were surprised that Governor Deal would bow down to Hollywood, the NFL, Google, anything, the Falcons, and deny church people, the faith-based community, just the right to have our First Amendment rights protected.
So has the governor gone back on promises to the faith community by pledging to veto?
Absolutely. I was in a meeting with him about over a year ago that he said that the same RFRA laws that he would actually sign back in the 90s, if we brought the same thing back to him, that he certainly would sign it here as governor. And he did exactly the opposite. I'm very disappointed. And most of the clergy and the legislators that I work with are very disappointed with Governor Deal's decision.
Pastor Hunt, what's the next step for the faith community?
Well, this week we're going to have a press conference, and several pastors are going to come together and going to express our tremendous disappointment with the governor. And we actually are going to call for a special session if the legislator can call themselves back together for the purpose of maybe even overriding his decision. Now, he has not signed the veto yet, so he has a chance to change his mind. But we want him to know that we, the clergy, are certainly very upset and very disappointed with his decision, because he turned his back on the faith-based community in this state. As a matter of fact, there's even plans for a rally, even on Thursday, that we're going to have in the rotunda of the Capitol at 1 o'clock. And we're calling for those Christians that are here in the state to come together, and we're going to let him know how we feel about his decision.
What would you say are the odds of a veto override?
It's an uphill battle. Anything like this, politics is politics. But I tell you what, the church has spoken. And when the church speaks, we believe we have God on our side. So I'm fully convinced that it will at least get the attention of the governor and even other legislators maybe that did not vote for the passage of the bill. I believe that we can develop a momentum that can turn things around politically. So I'm very inspired to know that something has to be different. He even said in the interview, when he gave his word, he said that we have God rights that have been given to us. But you know what? We need the state to protect those rights. And he's turned his back on those rights that God has given us through the First Amendment of the Constitution. And we're not going to take that.
There were a lot of threats from the business community to boycott the state's economy if the governor signed the bill. Do you think they meant it?
I don't. I mean, one of them was Walt Disney. One of the states that have one of the highest interests with RFRA, I mean, one of the broadest protections, much more broader protections than we would have had here in Georgia, was in Florida. Walt Disney World is in Florida. Are they going to take up and ship out of Florida because of Florida's laws? No. It's just empty threats. But he conceded to it because he did not want to look bad nationally about this decision about religious freedom.
What do you think it's going to mean for religious freedom in Georgia if his promised veto stands?
Well, his veto clearly even makes pastors vulnerable, because that bill was protecting pastors, that they would not have to perform same-sex marriages, that they would not have to rent out part of their buildings for same-sex events or homosexual events or whatever it might be, anything that was outside of the consciousness and the belief system of that faith-based institution. So it's not even just Christian. If you were faith-based, you were protected by the First Amendment. Therefore, you were protected by this bill. And that's simply all it was. So he turned his back on the faith-based community of this state, and we're very displeased with it.
All right, Pastor Garland Hunt of the Father's House in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Pastor Hunt, for your time today.
Thank you.